In the quiet heart of Umui's village, where the tall palm trees whispered secrets to the wind and the evening sun bathed the red earth in golden warmth, lived a young girl named Amara. Amara was only 18 years old, but she carried herself with the grace of a queen born from the womb of the gods. Her beauty was the kind that could silence a crowd. Her skin glowed like moonlight on calm water, her waist curved like the gentle bend of a river, and her eyes, oh, her eyes, sparkled with kindness that could melt even the hardest heart. Every morning she walked along the narrow village path that led to the stream, a white-fitted top hugging her slender frame and a short wrapper tied around her waist. Her footsteps were soft and rhythmic, as though the earth itself rose to meet her feet. Children loved her dearly. They would run after her, laughing and calling, "Amara, Amara, tell us a story," and she would smile, kneel down to their height, and tell them tales of the moon and the spirits of the river. But not everyone in Umues loved Amara. Some of the village women whispered behind her back. "Too beautiful for her own good," they would say. "She must have been touched by the spirits," others muttered. And her friends, or rather those who pretended to be, began to envy her deeply. Among them were Ngozi, Chika, and Ifeoma, girls who once shared laughter with her at the stream. They grew jealous of the attention Amara received, the praise, the admiration, the way even travelers from distant lands stopped to greet her with awe. Their envy soon turned into hatred. They began to mock her beauty. "Amara walks as if her legs do not touch the ground," Ngozi sneered. "Perhaps she floats because she has no soul," Chika laughed. And Ifeoma, the most cunning of them, hatched a dark plan. One afternoon, under the scorching sun, Ifeoma said sweetly, "Amara, let's go and fetch palm fruits near the old pit behind the farmlands. We'll make oil together for the village market." Trusting her friends as she always did, Amara followed them. They sang and laughed along the way, their voices echoing across the hills. When they reached the spot, Ifeoma pointed toward a deep, dry village pit, half covered with grass and leaves. "Some of the palm fruits fell there," she said. "Can you help us pick them?" Without suspecting anything, Amara bent forward to look. At that moment, Ngozi and Chika gave her a hard shove. She screamed, a sound that tore through the trees, and tumbled into the darkness of the pit. The girls stared down, breathing hard. Silence followed. They quickly covered the pit with leaves and branches, then ran away, trembling. Days passed. The village searched everywhere for Amara. Her mother wailed by the stream. The children refused to play. Even the birds grew silent. But one night, when the moon was full and bright, a strange thing happened. A soft, glowing light rose from the old pit. It shimmered like fireflies dancing in the air. The villagers gathered, whispering in fear, and then they heard it. A song. It was Amara's voice, gentle and sorrowful, drifting through the night. "You can bury beauty in darkness, but light will always find its way. Jealous hearts may throw stones, but truth will rise another day." The next morning, the villagers rushed to the pit and found her, alive, untouched, glowing with an unearthly radiance. They pulled her out with trembling hands. No one could explain how she survived. From that day, people said the spirits of the earth protected her because her heart was pure. As for Ngozi, Chika, and Ifeoma, their jealousy turned to shame. Their names became a warning to all who mocked goodness out of envy. The story of Amara's fall and miraculous return spread across every village surrounding Umuezes. Women whispered her name by the market stalls, men bowed when she passed, and children ran to touch her white wrapper as if it carried healing power. But for Amara, life after the pit was no longer the same. She had changed. Her eyes now held a depth that frightened some and fascinated others, as though she had seen what lay between the world of the living and the realm of the spirits. She spoke softly, often pausing mid-sentence as if listening to voices only she could hear. One night, as she slept, she dreamt of a tall woman cloaked in white feathers, her eyes shining like the morning star. The spirit said, "Amara, child of the earth, your beauty is not of flesh, but of soul." The pit was a test. The jealous have revealed their hearts, but your mercy has brought favor upon your bloodline. Rise and become a light to your people. When Amara woke, a strange mark had appeared on her right arm, a symbol shaped like a crescent moon and a teardrop. The elders called it Nduchukwu, the mark of divine protection. Though Amara forgave her 3 friends, Ngozi, Chika, and Ifeoma, their hearts were not truly cleansed. Ifeoma could not be Amara walking through the village while everyone sang her praises. Even after everything, they still worship her like a goddess, she spat one day. Perhaps the spirits truly love her, Chika whispered. Ngozi shook her head. No spirit gives power for free. She must have made a covenant. The seeds of jealousy began to sprout again. Meanwhile, a great drought came upon Umuez. The streams dried up, crops withered, and even the elders' prayers brought no rain. The villagers began to murmur that the gods were angry. Then one night, an oracle from the neighboring town of Ozubulu arrived. He spoke in a voice that made the ground tremble. The gods say there is a woman among you, one who has crossed from the land of the living to the land of spirits and returned. She carries light that can bless or curse. Bring her forth to the shrine of Odu for cleansing, or the drought will never end. All eyes turned to Amara. She stood silent as they led her to the shrine, her white wrapper fluttering in the dry wind, her eyes calm like still water. The trial at the shrine. The villagers gathered around as the oracle drew sacred symbols on the ground and burned incense that filled the air with thick smoke. "Spirit child," he said to Amara, "if you have walked with the dead, show us proof that you come in peace." Amara closed her eyes. A soft wind rose from nowhere. The leaves danced in circles around her feet. The smoke turned gold, and suddenly the sky darkened as though twilight had fallen early. Then a woman's voice, the same spirit from her dreams, echoed from the heavens. "This one is mine." She was tested by betrayal but chose forgiveness. Her beauty is a gift, not a curse. Let those who mocked her learn that light cannot be buried by envy. When the villagers looked again, the drought clouds burst open. Rain poured down like tears of mercy. The people fell to their knees in awe. Amara was now called Adamamuo, daughter of the spirits. Her presence became a blessing. When she touched a sick child, the fever faded. When she sang by the river, fish returned to the waters, but her former friends could not bear the shame. The punishment of the jealous. In their bitterness, Ngozi, Chika, and Ifeoma went secretly to a witch woman from the far forest. They begged her to take away Amara's light. The witch laughed and said, "What you envy, you cannot destroy. But your hearts may carry the weight of your own deeds." Still, they insisted. She gave them a black gourd and said, "Pour this oil on her shadow at sunset, and her glory will fade." The next evening, as Amara sat by the stream combing her hair, they crept behind her with the gourd. But just as they were about to pour the oil, the wind roared violently. The gourd slipped and shattered on the ground, splashing on their own shadows. They screamed as dark smoke rose around them. Their beauty withered, their voices cracked, and they fled into the forest, never to be seen again. Some say the spirits turned them into crows that still cry over the old pit every night. Amara's farewell years passed, and Amara became a priestess of peace and healing. Her name spread across kingdoms. People came from far lands to seek her wisdom, so one evening, as the sun sank low, she stood by the same path where she once walked as a young girl. The wind carried the laughter of children, and the scent of rain filled the air. She smiled and whispered, "They hated me for my beauty, but the gods saw my heart. Then, with a flash of light, she vanished, her body dissolving into mist. Long after Amara became known as Adamamur, the daughter of the spirits, peace returned to the land of Umues. The rivers flowed again, the yam barns overflowed, and laughter returned to the village. But in a dark corner of the forest, far from the light of the sun, 3 shadows moved restlessly. They were Ngozi, Chika, and Ifeoma, the same girls who had once called Amara sister and had later pushed her into the pit. They lived now in misery. Their beauty, once admired by all, had faded. Their skin grew rough and pale, their eyes hollow, their laughter replaced by bitterness. Each night the wind would whisper their names through the trees, Ngozi, Chika, Ifeoma, and they would tremble, for they knew who called them. The spirits of the pit, sent by the earth to remind them of their betrayal. The curse begins. One evening, while they huddled near their dying fire, Ngozi said bitterly, "I cannot live like this. We were once the pride of Umues, and now even the owls mock us. I will return to the village. Perhaps the people will forgive us." Chika nodded. "Yes, we must find a way to break this curse." But Ifeoma, still filled with pride, spat into the fire. "Forgiveness? Never. I will not kneel before that girl. Let the spirits do their worst." As soon as she said those words, a cold wind blew across the forest. The fire went out, and darkness swallowed them whole. Then a voice, deep and ancient, filled the air. "You envy what you did not earn. You mocked what you did not understand. You betrayed the one whose heart was pure. Now the earth will take its payment." The ground shook beneath them. A bright blue flame appeared before their eyes, and from it stepped a woman dressed in white, her face radiant with sorrow and light. It was Amara. But she did not speak in anger. Her voice was calm, like a river at dawn. "Greater than I forgave you, but forgiveness does not erase consequence. You tried to bury me, and the earth remembers. Now each of you will face what your heart truly is." The 3 fell to their knees, trembling. Ngozi's punishment, the mirror of regret. Amara touched Ngozi's forehead, and suddenly a mirror of water rose from the ground before her. "Look," Amara said. In the water, Ngozi saw every lie she had told, every whisper of mockery she had spread against her friend. She saw herself laughing when Amara cried, and her heart broke. She screamed and tried to run, but the water clung to her feet, turning her reflection into her prison. "Since you loved gossip more than truth," Amara said, "you shall speak only what others hide, even when you wish to be silent." From that day, Ngozi wandered the village, unable to stop herself from revealing secrets. When someone thought evil, she shouted it aloud. When a man lied, she exposed him without meaning to. The villagers feared her, and she lived alone until her last breath, her tongue heavy with regret. Then Amara turned to Chika. "You mocked me out of fear, fear that I would shine brighter than you. You let fear rule your heart. Now it shall be your master." She waved her hand, and Chika's shadow rose from the ground, alive, dark, and monstrous. It followed her everywhere, whispering, taunting, growing longer with each lie she told. She tried to run, but no matter how far she went, her shadow clung to her, wrapping around her like smoke. At night, it whispered her sins back to her. She lost sleep, she lost peace, until finally she fled into the forest, screaming. Some say she still walks at dusk, crying for light, her shadow chasing her until the end of time. Last, Amara faced Ifeoma, the one who led the plot and pushed her into the pit. Ifeoma glared at her, still unrepentant. "You may have the spirits on your side," she hissed, "but I bow to no one." Amara looked at her with sorrow. "Then you shall stand forever as you are." proud, cold, and unbending. She raised her hand, and the ground beneath Epheoma's feet hardened. Her skin began to turn gray, her eyes froze in fury, and her body stiffened. Before anyone could blink, Epheoma became stone. A tall statue with her hand outstretched, her mouth half open as if still protesting. Amara whispered a final blessing. Let all who pass this way remember that pride without humility is the heaviest burden. To this day, travelers who pass through the forest of Umuuz say they see a woman-shaped rock standing near the old pit. When the moon is bright, her stone eyes glisten like tears. After that night, Amara disappeared once more. Some say the spirits took her to the sacred hills where only the pure in heart can dwell. Others say she turned into the evening wind that cools the earth after rain. The village of Umuez prospered again. The story of the three friends became a lesson told by elders to every young girl. Jealousy blinds, envy burns, and pride destroys. But a heart that forgives walks with the spirits in peace. The end.